Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's do it.
So excited.
I've heard this somewhere along my life, but a visual of every time we get hurt, you're carrying a backpack. Every time we get hurt, like another brick in the backpack, and it's just getting heavier and heavier. And so therefore, I feel like we carry that and we're like, we got this, we're tough, but we haven't unpacked the backpack, right?
They called me that. I don't know how long it lasted, but for me, it felt like an eternity. And
Wow.
literally so embarrassing. You could never make that up. And like I said, out of a million guesses, you probably would have never guessed that. Okay, welcome back to Almost Iconic.
Yes. We are so grateful that you guys are sharing and tuning in and doing the thing, and we're going to be here and
I know.
just help you feel seen.
I know.
Take action in the almost.
How do we get to do this? This is
It's
so
a
fun.
gift. It is.
It is a gift.
What are we talking about today?
So today is something that's kind of close to my heart, and it is, what are the things that happen to you? And I say middle school, but just that age where we know that's really hard, that happened to you that really shaped kind of how you see yourself, or I mean, maybe you don't see yourself like that anymore. I feel like I've been able to evolve and grow from that.
Right.
But honestly, hurtful things that people said or did, experiences that you had that really stuck out to you that you remember and that just you carry with you. We're just going to talk about some of those things. And I know personally for me, I told Sophie, I'm like, I feel like I'm probably going to talk a lot today because this is like resonates so much with me, which I hope you feel the same. But I know that it resonates with you too.
Yeah.
But we just have so much to say.
Yeah.
And one thing is that we have reached out to see if you have stories that you want to share from your middle school experience. And we have had a few people share, but we decided today, you said, what did we decide?
Yeah, we decided that we want to actually play on audio your stories. So we would love that if you're watching this episode.
I think when you're listening to this, which would be on a Monday, probably try to reach out to us by Tuesday night.
Yeah,
so that we
typically record on Wednesday. So yeah, we would love to just hear from you, your story about something that has impacted you, like maybe someone's actions, words, what they thought of you, what you went through that has shaped you, and ideally that you've overcome, but that you realize still creeps in every now and then, or you think about it every now and then. That carries more weight than it should, but that's because we're human.
Yeah.
And these things that we've gone through as children stay with us. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I feel like we're going to do way more than middle school, like the trauma and the things you've gone through and all this stuff. But we're starting with middle school today.
Yes. And I told Sophie, one of the biggest things that I'm going to share is the nickname that I got pegged with in middle school. And I haven't told her. I'm like, I'm going to wait for the pod.
I wanted to hear it.
It's sad and embarrassing. Honestly, I've never shared this publicly.
Oh, I don't know. I want to know. It's so sad.
In fact, I don't even know. I guess I've shared this with my husband. I feel like I'm going to get teary. And I didn't expect to.
See, this is why it carries so much weight.
Yeah, it really does. And I think it's because I just remember how I felt back then. And I don't feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
But I do know that it just carried a lot of weight. So first of all, I want to say that one of the confusing things for me in middle school was that the same people that kind of made fun of me at times and said mean things or didn't always treat me right would then like turn around and then be my friend at times. So for me, it felt very confusing. And not everybody. Like I had great friends. And I realize now that in middle school, you're just like insecure and confused, and you're trying to figure out, you don't want the attention on you, so putting it on somebody else always helps. But yeah, I think that was always a little bit confusing for me in middle school, that okay, these same people who are being so mean to me are also turning around and being nice to me at times, and so it was just confusing. But I'm going to share the story of middle school Lyndsay sitting in the classroom, and the teacher walked out for some reason. She got caught out of the room. And I remember a boy pulling out a stuffed animal that was a whale. And in front of the whole class was like, look at Lyndsay, the sperm whale.
My God.
in front of the whole class.
With your stuffed animal.
And they were passing it around to each other.
No one stopped.
And nobody stopped it. And the teacher wasn't in the room, so she wasn't there to see that this was happening. And then, of course, when she walked in, they all stopped. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do in that situation? Because if you tell on them, then that's a whole nother thing. And so that was like where the name for me got pegged, was sperm whale.
And people literally kept saying it.
They called me that. I don't know how long it lasted, but for me, it felt like an eternity. And literally so embarrassing.
Yeah.
And of all the things, I mean, you could never make that up. And like I said, out of a million guesses, you probably would have never guessed that.
No.
And so that for me was something I'll never forget. If you know me, well, if you're listening, you don't know me, I am like outgoing. I love to laugh. I'm like talkative. And that made me really want to not be any type of attention put on me. So like I would shrink back to try and not have any attention on me, because I'm like, okay, if they're not thinking about me, then they won't call me that name. Right.
Yeah. So it like dimmed your light so much.
It did. And I remember even like in youth group at church, one of the guys who did this, I remember, I mean, it's so weird how you can remember these things. Like I remember we were all on the playground and I walked up and he was like, oh, look, it's sperm whale. And so even I couldn't get away from it at church. It was like this.
They don't even realize the weight of their words.
Yeah. And I wonder if anybody, I mean, typically guys probably won't watch this podcast. And that was generally who was doing it. But I'm sure there will be some girls who watch this that have known me from middle school who might remember that. Or maybe they don't, because it wasn't important to
significant.
them.
Yeah. Because you don't, sometimes when you're the one doing the thing, like you just get wrapped up in the moment and you don't even realize like the impact that you have and everything that we do from childhood on.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then I remember one boy who, and like I said, you can always look back and realize that like the people who say things about you are just insecure themselves. And when I share this, I would never share a name, and I'm not trying to be ugly. I'm just saying there was a guy who kind of had like rough teeth, right? Like his teeth were a little rough. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean.
I don't want to laugh because I know what you mean.
But the reason why I'm saying that is because he called me zebra teeth one time in class, because I had like discoloration on my teeth or whatever. I mean, it wasn't even that big of a deal, but he was insecure, but he found that in me and he pointed it out. And so then like that too. And what's so weird is I feel like there would be people who watch this who were in middle school with me who would be like, she had friends and she was happy and all these things, but they just didn't realize like the weight of those things. And I'm quite sure that, you know, I didn't realize the weight of other people's things that were going on at that time. But for me, it was heavy. And my mom, I've talked to her about this as an adult, and she's like, how come you never told me that was going on? And I'm like, because what would you have done? You would have gone up to the school, said something, embarrassed me even further. And who wants to be, you know, who wants their mom going up to the school and being like,
nobody. Yeah.
You know, so those kind of things are things that you do carry into adulthood. And I think for me, that was the way I felt like I was seen in a lot of ways back then. And so anytime as an adult, for instance, you saying that you were intimidated when you first met me, which is hilarious. And I know that you don't feel that way now. And it was just because we literally had never met. But for me to think that anybody could have even seen me as intimidating cracks me up. Because for me, I see the girl who was made fun of.
Yeah.
And was not the first one to be chosen, not the one who, I mean, you walk into the lunchroom and you're trying to figure out who to sit with, and you're not the first one that somebody comes up to.
Yeah.
And then I even remember I was a cheerleader.
Lunchroom tables.
Oh my gosh. That could be a whole episode, right?
Yeah, keep going though. You were a cheerleader.
I was just going to say I was a cheerleader, and I remember walking in the hallway. We were all supposed to be doing posters together. We were having a pep rally.
Yes.
And we had 4 or 5 posters that we were all just drawing on during our cheerleading practice. And I walked into the hallway and nobody wanted to work on a poster with me except for my one best friend, who was my very best friend all through middle school and high school. And she was really popular, but she always stood up for me and was so sweet.
It's crazy, but it's also, I remember, this just stirred this, that I feel like something I'm so passionate about now is making people feel good and welcome and seen. I remember I got, it's going to show my age, but I got grouped in on this chat on AIM. So it's AOL Instant Messenger.
Yep.
And I can't even remember the details because my memory is really bad, which I blame on all the concussions I got at cheerleading falling on my head. So the gist of it was that we were all talking badly and ugly about someone. And I feel like that was not in my character. That's not who I am. But it was in a group of people and I got wrapped up in the moment and they printed out that chat. Somehow it got printed out and I got called into the principal's office and I can't remember what grade it's in, but I think it was middle school. And I'm pretty sure that was right around middle school. I'm like, wondering if anybody watches this and like remembers this in more detail where you were involved. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't remember who's involved. I'm like, I wonder if I'm friends with you. Oh gosh, I hope that I wasn't a jerk. But the things that you have done, even on the opposite side, that someone might be holding that weight of something you did, like getting wrapped up in a friend. And even, I mean, this is so applicable, I think now as like adults. How often do we get wrapped up in a conversation where all of a sudden you're like, wait, was I like part of that? And maybe because if someone had heard that, would they feel bad based on what I'm saying? And like, you've got to check yourself. But when you're younger, you don't really have the ability to do that. Or maybe if your parents help you like realize that or see that. But I feel like, I don't know. I just think it's easy to get wrapped up in that. So I remember that happening. I remember also saying something ugly about a girl who lived in my neighborhood, and my parents made me write a note, an apology note, and I can't even remember what it was that I said, but it was something unkind, and I had to go and apologize, and that was so embarrassing because I would have never said what I said if I was looking at her face, and that's why we have a bunch of keyboard bullies. Kind of the same thing of if you're going to say it to someone else or you're going to say it in a note or you're going to say it on social media, be willing that whatever you're actually saying about someone, if they were right in front of you looking at your face, would you call them that? In middle school, maybe they would. Hopefully they, you know, these people like have
grown up,
for sure. Or they probably think about that.
And let me just say this, that like, I am not perfect at all. I'm sure I did plenty of things to people and was probably mean to people, not realizing it.
Oh yeah.
You know, or realizing it.
Yeah.
And the people that did this are wonderful people. I mean, they are obviously adults now and, you know, all the things. And I don't hold any of this against any person. And I hope that whatever I've done to somebody when I was younger or whatever, that they don't hold against me, because especially at that age, you don't realize the weight of what you're doing and how it affects people. And I know, I'm literally thinking right now as you're like talking about this, I'm like, I know for a fact that I've hurt people. Yeah. And I'm sure that somebody watching this from middle school could write me up and be like, this is what you did to me that made me feel bad. Yeah. And I hate that. It's so sad. And so when I'm saying these things, it's not because I think, oh, I'm the victim.
Oh,
you know,
no.
I'm so, it's just poor me. But it's just talking about these things
that you carry with you.
Yeah. And knowing that it goes with people into their whole life. Like you remember these moments in your whole life. And like you're saying as an adult, realizing the same thing, that like, you know, what you say and what you do carries so much weight and people remember. Yeah. And so that's why you always have to just try to be so aware, and also just try to be very much in step with the spirit on different situations, and
like asking him to convict you. I'm very quick to speak. And that's not a good quality. Like, I think it's good sometimes in a fun environment, but it's not great because I will quickly want to correct or just say something that I don't even really think through. And then I don't realize the weight of what that comes. But I feel like we could talk about that in a whole nother podcast too.
No.
Slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to speak, quick to
slow to
anger, quick to listen.
Yeah. Slow to speak, quick to listen. Yeah. Something.
What is that? Is that a verse or is that a quote?
I think it is. I think it's a psalm.
Why am I like brain farting?
It's
okay. That's going to be one podcast thing.
That is going to be
sometime. I think that's a good.
We'll have to do that. Yeah. But I feel like I'm also quick to speak, and I'm also a verbal processor. But I think sometimes you can verbally process too much.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you need to have those trusted people that know your heart and you can talk through things and they know, okay, she's hurt,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
I know her character, but you do have to be careful who you do verbally process with, because you would never want to hurt somebody who maybe you are verbally processing about in the process. And I think that every single person can be guilty of that for sure.
I mean, especially when you're triggered, if you're angry.
Yes.
But when you're not angry, that's where it's like, that's where, I don't know, those middle school years, it just bloop, stuff comes out. Hopefully that maybe the point is not to say because we're perfect or we haven't made mistakes, like what we talked about, like we both acknowledge that we might have said stuff, but the point of talking about this is like, what were those things that carry weight and maybe make you react in a way as an adult that you wouldn't react if someone hadn't hurt you? So let's say maybe now someone mentioned something even remotely close to you feeling teased, or when maybe you're going to react in a more defensive way of like, no, I'm not going through this again. You're not going to make me feel this way. And it might create in you a more defensive reaction. And I know we're talking about other people's stories, but there's a lot of people that I've been talking to as we've been talking about this middle school podcast of the stuff that they went through that they don't realize has kind of made them draw a line in the sand of like, I'll never let someone treat me like that again. And maybe to a fault where it's made them become maybe more aggressive, maybe more, I'm not going to listen to you. Instead of accepting feedback, maybe sometimes we just are go defensive mode and we're not even willing to hear or willing to give room to the spirit to deal with something, because we were like, we're never going to take that. We're never going to take that from someone again. But instead of letting God deal with that, we're quick to deal with it ourselves. But God's our defender.
Yeah.
So
that's really true.
Being able to surrender that.
Yeah. I felt like you were really just speaking from the heart there. Yeah. Like, that's what I love. I can tell when Sophie's when she's rolling, because you are like fired up, and I love it. You're on a roll. This may be maybe slightly different, but kind of going back to those things shape you, and then they make you feel more vulnerable in those areas. So for me, when we talk about, I know oftentimes you'll say we generally are fit people and eat healthy and all those things, which was true for me for a big portion of my life and adulthood. But going back to childhood into even, I mean, I didn't start my healthy journey until actually after Jovi was born, and she's 12 now. But when she was about 1 year old is when I really started getting very serious about fitness and weightlifting and all those things and being healthy. But I think for me, one of the reasons that it is so hard for me to feel like I'm going backwards physically is because growing up, that was such a big insecurity, such a big painful thing where I knew people saw me that way. Even if it was just middle school, they still, that's how they viewed me. And so I finally got to that place, like I said, when Jovi was around 1, where I felt really good. I was in shape. And then people started viewing me as somebody who was fit and like somebody who was in shape. And I loved that, because I was like, for the first in my life, people come to me for workout advice and fitness advice and say, I see your arms look really toned. And like, that felt really good. But I will say this, that can become
like an idol.
An idol.
Yeah.
And the fact that you said idol before I could even say it is that, yes.
Literally just talking about that.
Yeah.
Church. Not you with you. But.
Yeah. You can almost get prideful in a way. And I think that this whole journey of realizing that people are struggling with a lot more than what it appears on the surface, like hormonally and all of those things, because I feel like I got prideful in that era of life where I was like, I mean, if you just lift weights, if you just whatever, and we could say this a million times, but I truly felt that way. I thought, I figured it out. If everybody else would just figure it out too. And I don't think that I was walking around with that necessarily that bold of a whatever, but I do think that
you don't know.
You don't know. And so I'm, as weird as it sounds, I'm happy that I am walking through this at this stage, because Sophie and I both are in contact with so many women, and we both have teams, we both, just friends and all of those things, these circles that we're in. And I feel like us walking through this is allowing other people to feel seen and heard in it. And if we weren't walking through this right now, if everything was just so great, we would not be relatable at all. Because what even is normal? What even is the, you know, whatever? It's like, because we're walking through this and at the same time, which is so crazy. We get to be the voice for people who need to see it. And just like we've said, when people reach out to us and say, I listened to the podcast today and I relate to everything that you said, that is the best, because we're not happy that this person feels this way.
It's actually not the best because it means you're going through something, but
this is the whole point of us doing this, is so that people cannot feel alone in their mess. And to me, it's like, I know that there's so many women and men that went through middle school crap or just younger years, even high school, whatever, that things molded and shaped you. And just to kind of think about that and what you said of allowing God to really handle those things, and also to just really
reveal them
to you. What are you holding on to? What is it that's causing you pain that maybe the person in front of you isn't even actually doing, but you're holding on to it from a previous, you know, experience. And for me, just talking about this right now, I'm just like, wow, I need to really be mindful and like thinking about that too, of how, what is it that I'm holding on to that could roll into what others say to me that might make me defensive or make me feel like, ooh, you know, that's not even what's actually happening. And we know that we do not fight against flesh and blood. When you have a conflict or you have something happening with somebody, even in middle school and high school and adulthood, whatever, it is a spiritual battle. It is the enemy wanting to come against you or that person.
That person too, You don't feel good if you've been mean to someone.
And
never feel better.
Yes, and it's like, we have to just really be able to recognize that it's not the person, it is the enemy. And of course, we do have to take responsibility for our actions and what we say and do. But if we have to remember that it is such a spiritual battle, that's what the Bible says.
And knowing, I mean, hurt people. And who among us is not hurt by something? Who hasn't gone through something? And especially the more you go through life, I don't even think you realize sometimes the things that you experienced in childhood, how badly that actually hurt you. And if you reflect to be like, man, that sucked. I think about some more things probably in like high school and adulthood, like early adulthood, that hurt me. And I find it so hard to believe sometimes, like, how are people not realizing that they're hurting someone or not capable of seeing that this is painful? And why would they do that? Why would you do that? But we all do without realizing it. And so I think, I guess like I just feel so strongly right now that that's like even more of a surrender piece, where it's easy to see the people that hurt you, but it's not easy to see all the hurts you're carrying. And therefore, I think it's going to be really difficult to see the way that you're hurting other people because you haven't let go of all these hurts.
Gosh, that's so good.
This
is
really
making me think.
I feel like this is a good journal exercise if you're a journaler. I love writing things out. But God revealing, I mean, I think God is so sweet to reveal those details when we can handle it and when we can learn from that, when we've grown enough. So maybe having this conversation right now is because we are capable of seeing that a little differently, you know?
Yeah, and it can just help us only get better, closer to the Lord, more like Jesus, see people for what they are and not the pain that we have
carry.
Or that they carry or that we carry, and not through a lens of, this is really interesting. I feel like I'm like so introspective.
I'm having this like visual of, and I don't know if like I've heard this somewhere along my life, but a visual of every time we get hurt, you're carrying a backpack. Every time we get hurt, it's like another brick in the backpack, and it's just getting heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And so therefore, I feel like we carry that and we're like, we got this, we're tough, but we haven't unpacked the backpack, right? We haven't gotten to see what actually is the weight, what is in each brick that we're carrying. But in that same analogy, if someone is mean to us, or we feel attacked or we feel hurt by someone else, now that we're carrying this whole backpack and we've stored it up and we haven't taken the time to evaluate, like what we're doing right now and we're talking about, we're going to fling that backpack down and fling it at them. And how much more is that going to hurt because we haven't unpacked our bricks? That's going to take them out, because I mean, it allows you to see people, and my thing is just keep it human. It just allows me to view people, and not in the moment. Okay, if someone's being a jerk, it's really hard to see in the moment.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're just carrying your sweet little bricks at me. Like, no.
Yeah.
But it definitely helps you to reflect and see people like they're coming at like this, not because it's right and you need to excuse it, but because they're carrying a heavy load. Yeah. Oh, and the verse, come to me all who are weary and I will give you rest. I just feel like
every
that's so
time I
beautiful.
hear that verse, I feel like
I know.
just breathe. Like,
I know, like God doesn't want us to carry it. He wants us to surrender it to him and not use it as a weapon.
Yeah.
Against people. And
so good. I feel like this was such a good conversation. I just feel like this is a good place to stop. I feel like I don't know. This feels like more kind of a heavier conversation, but it's one that needs to be had.
Yeah.
And I feel like we definitely want to hear your stories.
Yep.
If you feel comfortable sharing, we don't want this to just be all about us. We want people to be able to share their stories and
how you see yourself in what we talk about. And maybe how it's even helping you. Maybe how it helps you look at someone a little differently that hurt you.
Yeah.
I would love to hear in a good way, or if you're struggling with that. Like I'm struggling to forgive this person that hurt me.
Yeah.
Or what do I do in these situations? I mean, let's talk about it. We don't know the answers. We know a God who knows, but we don't know the answers. And so I think I would love for you guys to send us messages, tell us, let us know.
Yeah, for sure.
What you take away.
I feel like we need to pray.
Yes,
for
absolutely.
sure. Do you want to pray or do you want me to?
I can pray.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Father, Lord, thank you so much for today. Thank you for allowing us to just see the things that are going on in us and that have impacted us through the years and through our life, Lord, and that you are constantly shaping and molding us to be more like you. So thank you for allowing us to have the conversation, that we would be refined, that we'd see these things that we're carrying that we don't even know about. Maybe just right now for the person listening that is carrying something or going through something or just doesn't feel seen, Lord, I know that you see them, and I just pray that they would surrender their bricks to you, Lord. And then I pray that we would do the same and continue to reflect and continue to be a light for you. We thank you so much for today and the ability to be here, Lord, and we love you. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Well, episode 3 done. Wow.
Bye, guys.
We'll see y'all next week.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening today. We are so grateful that you tuned into Almost Iconic. We would love it if you would subscribe, like, share, and tag us if you do, and say what resonated with you. We love you guys.
Love you. Yes to all of that.